It was nice to see that my story's actually been changed slightly about my performance on a road cycle. I'm here today, so why am I here today and who I am? Well, my name's Stephen Webb, and I'm here as a UK highway designer to share with you how road markings contribute to safer roads by design. And in terms of an introduction, well, I didn't actually start in highway engineering. In 1988, I began in civil engineering. And it wasn't until I joined Atkins in 2001 is where I started in road safety and traffic engineering. And I realized then that through casualty reduction and through providing schemes to my local community that I got the job satisfaction there. In 2010, I transferred through contract from Atkins to Parsons Brinkhoff. And a key project for me then was actually working in the Middle East, where I worked in the UAE and undertake road safety reviews of major highway network in Abu Dhabi. And last year, PB, who are an American firm, joined with WSP, who are a Canadian firm, and we now form some 36,000 employees. And we also have an office here in Hamburg. And I'm currently a highways team leader within the Taunton office, and Taunton is situated in the very southwest of England, and it's a population of around 90,000 people. And I work largely on local authority type contracts. And we're here today about road markings and associated technology. So I thought it was key to share that I'm also a practicing road safety auditor. And for those of you who aren't familiar with this process, it's effectively an independent road safety review of all highway improvement schemes. And this includes the visual inspections of road markings. So in terms of the presentation, it's going to be split into two simple sections, and we're looking at about 15 slides. The first section is going to be about casualty reduction and how road markings contribute. The second section is going to be about value of road markings, the challenges, and some future considerations. So within the UK, casualties are reported each year through the Department of Transport, and one document is issued each year, which is a report of road casualties Great Britain. And I've taken some summary information out of this document. But before I move into the numbers, I just want to point out that in the year 2010, there was a significant change in the UK, because up to the year 2010, the government set a mandatory target for casualty reduction to both the Highways Authority and the local authorities. But after 2010, the targets were only applicable to the Highway Authority, not to the local level. But what's key to see that in all casualties in Great Britain, that the reduction in accidents is still being seen, and we're looking at 11% reduction in the last 5 years. And if you look at the table below, we've got motorway accidents, so that's Highway England network. Again, we're looking at 13% reduction. However, a key point to note is that Highways England has a current target of a 40% reduction by the year 2020. So I gave it some thought, and I thought, well, what sort of statistic could be linked to road markings? Well, the dark collision statistics, because at the end of the day, road markings provide that delineation and that reflectivity, particularly in the hours of darkness. And again, albeit a marginal decrease, we're looking at a 4% reduction in dark collisions in all GB collisions. But what was really interesting was that only 412 collisions out of all accidents in the UK had a causation factor of either an inadequate sign or a poorly laid road marking. That's only 1% of all accidents in Great Britain. So from a designer point of view, and also from the supply chain, there's two standards which we use. One is the statutory standard, the document on the right, and this is called the TSRDD, which was updated this year. This is largely a prescriptive document which provides diagrams and general directions and regulations which sit underneath this. On the left-hand side, we've got a very useful document which designers use, which is the Traffic Signs Manual, Chapter 5, and this is best practice. And the extract I've taken from the book there, you can see that the diagrams have been taken from the TSRDD and put together to show your typical junction layout. And here we've got a merge and diverge junction, and we've got a give-way junction. So a very useful document. So in terms of how do we categorize road markings as a designer? Well, the first one's quite obvious. There's the standard road markings. We've got the center line, the hatching, the junctions, the edge line, and also the no overtaking lines. But then we move on to the specialist type road markings. And I've taken a picture example there in the middle, which is a motorway local to me, the M5, and it's called gap management, where they use the two chevrons apart. So road markings are laid in the lanes, and it's up to the drivers to keep the gap. And what that would do, it will reduce shunt-type collisions, and it will also improve capacity at peak times. Now, we all know about the driver feedback road markings such as raised rib line or vibra line, but does anyone in the audience know about singing streets or singing road markings? Okay. Well, for those who don't know, I did a little bit of homework on the internet, and they seem to have been born from a Danish origin, but over time, they've been trialled in places such as Tokyo and Korea, and they've actually been implemented on the Route 66 in America. And effectively, they changed the construction of the highway, either through the blacktop arrangement and use of Vibroline, or they use tactile road markings, which in effect can actually play a song back to the driver. So quite an innovative approach. There's the other typical ones, such as countdown markings to roundabouts, and also the use of coloured surfacing in the UK, which we really see as buff-coloured or red, and sometimes blue or green, as the picture in the right-hand corner. And then I'll give an example in a minute about speed management gateway enhancement. So the final category is when we consider enhanced materials. And the client will largely look at this where they consider that thermoplastic wears out too quick. So that would be a high-stress site where there's a number of restarts on heavy goods vehicles, or whereby it's just too difficult to do traffic management regularly to replace the thermoplastic. And obviously MMA is a good solution to this. And then we look at height and skid resistance, approach to collision sites or to junctions or crossings. And then, of course, where we need a higher reflectivity or a greater performance, we've got the rain line. So here's some before and after examples of where road markings have contributed towards casualty reduction. And on the left-hand side, we've got a typical 30-mile-an-hour situation where, the road is quite wide, it's 7.5 meters wide, and the speeds are well in excess of the 30-mile-an-hour limit, largely because it just doesn't feel like a 30. But on the right-hand side, for the use of enhanced gateway treatment in a ghost island, and also within the scheme, laying the central hatching and the red anti-skid associated with the traffic bollards, you can see how the road is visually narrowed. And this is a recent scheme we put in, and the feedback we've got from the stakeholders in the local community is that they've definitely seen a reduction in speeds. So then moving on to route treatment. Again, the road markings are a key component in contributing towards casualty reduction. And in the top right picture, we've got an undulating junction with a change in horizontal and vertical alignment, where the road markings have really helped and complemented also the new signs going in and the reflective marker posts and also the red edge studs around here. And they're ideal for providing a consistent message along route treatment. So moving a higher step up, in the UK on the trunk road network, we've got what we call smart motorways. And this is effectively allowing for dynamic running of the hard strip or hard shoulder in peak times. And obviously, road markings are a key component because they need to be durable and they need to be seen because they help to contribute towards that lane discipline. In terms of smart motorways, we're looking at a network in the UK of around 380 kilometres at the moment, but that's going to increase by a further 320 kilometres. So I've talked about a strategic level, I've talked about sort of a road treatment level, but what about the local community needs? I come from a very rural county in the southwest, and here's an example where road markings delivered the solution whereby a conventional method wouldn't work. The first thought of thinking about these pedestrians here is, could we provide a formal footway? But because of the carriageway width, and because obviously we've got a line of buildings which simply wouldn't akin to having a footway built up to them, we've provided, for use of coloured surfacing and edge marking, an area for pedestrians to walk along. And also, because of the road width, it allows for some overrun. So everyone's got an idea about where they're supposed to be. And we call this a virtual footway. Again, without Europe and throughout the world, no doubt we're all trying to aim to get people out of the vehicles onto cycles and onto pedestrian footfalls. And here is a road local to me, an A road with a vehicle traffic movement of around 25,000 vehicles per day. And on the left-hand side, you can see that there's no affordable width for cycle schemes. But on the right-hand side, we've widened the footway, we've set back the bridge parapet, and you can see that the trapezoidal road marking has played a key component in providing that delineation between the different user groups. And here's some summary statistics about what you could gain by certain features of road markings. So in summary, from the casualty reduction side, well, the need for quality and innovative road markings is greater than ever because they help raise conspicuity of road features. They provide that route treatment. They provide that delineation, particularly in darkness. They're also quick to install. They're flexible and solution solving, relatively low cost, and that the industry, as they are today, is always working to bring continuous technological advancements. So an interesting topic now is, what are the challenges to both myself, the designer, and yourself, the supply chain? Where the obvious ones are the ever-increasing traffic flow we're all experiencing. And in UK, we're looking at 2.4% per annum. And this is versus what we all know are budget constraints. So effectively, our clients are looking for more durability, more reflectivity, but they've got less money available. And again, linking to the budget problems, this has led towards using more cheaper surfacing methods, such as surface dressing. But the downside with this is, obviously, they do restrict what type of road marking you can put back on the carriageway. And then again, without the money, it's affecting post-scheme effectiveness, because there's no sweeping of the carriageway as per usual, and the renewals may be slightly light. And this has been supported by a survey undertaken in 2014, whereby it was depicted that 50% of all road markings in the UK required immediate renewal. So from a designer's point of view, when I talk to the clients, they are effectively the decision makers. And I have to convince them, obviously, that it's the right way to go. And what is sometimes a challenge is that there's not that evidence available to support using a standalone road marking. And obviously they'll say, show me the evidence. And if I haven't got evidence, they'll sort of be a little bit standoffish and may not invest. And the next one, obviously, is health and safety. We've all got that as a priority within our companies. And with road markings, you've obviously got road closures and you've got temporary traffic management. And there's that risk to the workforce versus the benefits to the travelling public. And finally, as a challenge, there's a need for better asset management, because what we find is, because there's a lack of funding or resource, that you could, with all the goodwill, provide an enhanced material at, say, your give-way junction, but in 5 years' time, through a lack of a decent asset management system, it's forgotten about, and maybe thermoplastic may go back instead of the enhanced material. So, future advancements. Well, this may look like a joke picture, but a farmer actually did do this in the UK. He branded all his sheep with this message to try and get drivers outside his farm to slow down. So, on a more serious note, future advancements, well, the obvious ones are that both the design and clients working with the supply chain. But more importantly, that the road safety, the road marking industry continues to gain recognition within best practice. And a current document which examples this is the Highways England document, Guide to Route Treatment. And this is an excellent document because within it, it provides a number of case studies which show how simple traffic signs and road markings can bring significant accident reduction. It also goes to categorise the road markings and where they're best used, and the do's and the don'ts. But more importantly, it promotes working with the supply chain. I mentioned about the evidence. Any evidence which the supply chain can get in terms of their performance of road markings would be great. And also, the supply chain, helping the clients manage their assets, so recording where enhanced materials has gone down. And then the final challenge, which we all know, and it's been there for many years, we all want improved reflectivity at the same time as improved skid resistance. And staying with skid resistance, well, as I was introduced, I'm probably a bit more over the top, and I actually am capable of riding a push bike. I was in France in 2016 cycling the Alps, and I was fortunate enough to see the start of the Tour de France. And as a motorcyclist and a cyclist, I'm well aware of the issues crossing the white line, in particular wet conditions. And I've taken 4 still shots here, and the first one just shows you how even the best can get it wrong crossing a road marking. And we've got Chris Froome, stage 19, and he's obviously entered the bend, and he's crossed the road marking. The front wheel has lost friction, and basically, as you can see in the 4th slide, he's come to rest on the blacktop, and so did the rider just after him. So any improvement in skid resistance value is always welcome as a cyclist. And I just want to leave on one simple message, that road safety is a common priority, and despite politics, boundaries, and borders, we should all work together to drive for safer roads. Thank you very much.